the data. We have now see an example from a bank that has a sort of main portal of data. The analyst accede to the portal. This is a possible solution. Do you think? Do you can speak something about your experience in that?
Well, I think I have to go, I think. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. No. Anyway, I think this from Alicia was so interesting because it was in the line of the data democratization. What they mean is to build a marketplace, okay, where all the data is shared by the company, by the different areas, and they can access access to all the information and can get a subset of this information and do the consortium with them, with their form, the tools that they want to use. Okay, for me, it's a good example. We have some examples in the several customers that are trying to do that. Maybe the more difficult issue that we have here is not to load or to get information, is to come back. What I mean to come back the information is the areas load the information, consume the information, but a lot of times they want to change the data. Okay, they have Excel files, they have different sources, and the difficulty is to integrate back the information and upload the data that they have in the centralized repository. But for me, this is the main task. Okay, to democratize the data using a kind of market data store.
Do you think that data virtualization is a possible solution in that?
If I have to speak again, of course. We have different tools, like for example, Snowflake, that help us in order to virtualize data to create sandboxes for the different areas, or maybe customers or maybe vendors that they are working with the company. So there is a true solution, and I think is the way to follow at this moment.
Abigail, you can join if you want. Tell your opinion. I don't know if Abigail is listening or not because it's muted. Are you muted, Abigail? Maybe it's here, but it's not here. Okay, Gerardo, don't worry. We continue in 2. We have 5 minutes. We have a lot of time to discuss. Okay, so I can turn the mic on. I don't know why, because it's very strange, because there is I don't know. I can. Okay, write your question or your answer directly in the chat. We can discuss with Gerardo. But you can you hear now the discussion or not that we are realizing, Gerardo and I? Maybe this, no this. Alai, how are you? Can you turn on your microphone and make your intervention if you want? No, it's very strange. Normally we have a lot of events like that with the Google Meet without problem. I don't know if today we had some problem in the central, in the server of Google, because it's very slow. Okay, so the discussion was about Abigail. If you want to write something, write. We can read in chat and discuss your. The question is how we can democratize data in our companies. So Gerardo, I think so. The one of most important discussion regarding the speech is that the importance of have the C-level inside like a sponsor if in a data governance process, because sometimes if they, and I usually to say, if a CFO can understand that it's important to have data governance, don't do nothing, because I don't know if you agree.
That's true. It's obviously if you don't have a sponsor, you're not going to override so far. So
Yeah, but
it
must
seems
be
to have
sea
a big
level. Must be sea level. Without a
course.
sea, not only for example, if there is a CDO, it's easy, but it's not necessary. You say that in bank was CTO the sponsor of the purchase that the market data place model. If there is the sea level, is more easy, I think.
Yeah, yeah. For example, in a customer that we had in the past, they are in the process of the digital transformation. Okay, the way that they force the other areas to come into this digital transformation is to make owners to have their own benefits with this transformation. What I mean is, it's not the IT department who has to push the digital transformation. There are the other areas, the financial areas, the commercial, logistics, etc., that they have in their DAX to do that. Okay? And this is sponsored by the CEO and another chief board officer. Okay, so it's completely true. If the sponsor is in the top level, it's going to be a very hard way to do a data democratization and digital transformation. I agree.
Okay, we have 1 minute only. I hope so. I am very happy to stay with you, but I hope next time to meet other person. Okay, so I think we return in 1 minute in the main event. Now we have a break. After that, we start the data governance roundtable.
And since I'm having a new challenge to build a health tech company from scratch, it's been good to hear what big companies are doing and how can I start with this new challenge, doing it right by the beginning. So since you all are very experienced on that, I would leave a question here, which is how new companies, health tech startups, could start in this way of data governance, doing right since the beginning. This is the question I've been doing by myself. Well, and again, it's been interesting to hear from all of you. Thank you a lot.
I think you nailed it, actually. I think that understanding the business model that you are proposing is key for this, because the roles need to be enablers of this business model. So it's the main idea to keep in mind is always to manage data as a business asset and not as an IT thing, because this will lead you to start identifying
the things said on the
Oh, here it is,
this
Michele.
roundtable.
The one we say something about.
Yeah.
Michele,
I
microphone.
Gorka could say something also, I guess. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm struggling typically for sure the whole roundtable was very useful, but I was missing a little bit the bottom-up approach because in highly regulated companies, well, okay, that's almost take it for granted you're going to get some sponsorship and fundings to kind of implement this kind of well management of data at the end. Bottom up approach, well, probably is going to be different. I mean, for the companies that are wanting to become data driven or data centric at least, management people is not understanding really the importance of even data quality. So how you put in place some data governance practices, let's say, if they don't even understand the importance of quality. How do you speak about metadata or this kind of, additional or next steps? Well,
Yeah, yes, of course. I do love DMBOK, but I think the key issue is to get commitment from the business. So I'm struggling, honestly, since 20 years to find a window, a door to justify a data governance project, unless it's coming from the top. But when it's coming from the top, there is no commitment. After a few months, disappear. So basically, I try to find some value. It's difficult to find a revenue base as cost cutting, but what I try to do, and sometimes it works, I try to relate data governance, small data governance, let's say, a project is not the right word, task, and try to link to a business task that is revenue related.
It's a process,
yes,
not a project.
Yeah, this not the project is not the right word.
But I actually say it's
try to link.
It's a
Try
program.
to link to a business task that is a business related cost cutting or revenue increase. This is the small tricky. Try to start with a small task linked to the business with a clear value.
Question, Paolo. But in your opinion, the implementation of data governance is a problem of IT, of problem of involvement of the business?
I mean both, because I'm a technical guy. We love too much technical solution. We don't speak the business language most of the time, even if the CTO, something like that. So I think it's both. So we need to start from our technical side and move to the business language as much as possible. But I would say both sides. Of course, in the technical side, we do think that data governance is important, but for us it's quite easy. But for the business, it's not, and we need to move in their direction, not the other way around. Unlucky.
You know, I have found it to be very effective to ask the business two questions. And if they can answer these two questions and they can answer them honestly, it gives the practitioners of data governance a lot of ammunition to go to their senior leadership. So the two questions. The first question is, what can't you do that you need to do because you don't have the data or you don't have the confidence in the data to be able to do that or to do it? So if you ask the business and if they can honestly tell you what the data is preventing them from being able to do, I mean, we're hiring smart people in our organizations. We need to know what is the data preventing them from doing. That's one of the key questions. The other question is very much like the first question, which is, what would you do? What could you do if you had all of the data that you needed and you had the confidence in the data to be able to do it? And if they can answer what they can't do and what they would be able to do if we were in a utopian environment. Now, I'm not going to say that data governance is not immediately going to, result in a utopian environment, but data governance is what needs to be in place in order for us to take steps to get there and to improve these things and to improve people's behaviors and behavior and things like that. So I think that some of the problems is that we're not getting we're not asking the people in the business the appropriate questions, and they're not able to articulate the answers, and we're not capturing the answers effectively enough to convince management why this is necessary. Data is preventing us from doing things. Data could enable us to do incredible things. We've got to be able to articulate it. That's my
in your opinion, I have an echo. Sorry for if I speak this strange. I have an echo. On your opinion, the roles of the data governance are correct, or they can evolve to a more business purpose? I mean, we talk about the data owner, the data steward, yes, but more business-focused role. Do you think the role can evolve? For example, we can have a data lifecycle specialist, a senior data product manager, a data trustee, something that is not, in my opinion, data governance is something that is related to control the risk, control the GDPR, control something like that. In my opinion, is the roles we have compliant with the real requirement of business?
Maybe I can share a bit of experience from my side. We decided to orient our data governance completely towards the business needs, which means that my role as data governance specialist is never to produce any standards or anything like that. And surprisingly, when you go to data governance, you expect people to really give you the framework. We choose to dedicate that framework to the business. So we do have business representative. We define data domains in my industry, where in each data domains, we do have a business representative. So for example, for finance, we have a primary contact. For procurement, we have a primary contact. For production, we have a primary contact. All these people needs to define their requirements when it comes to data. They need to define what they do expect, and exactly going in the direction that Bob mentioned before. They need to properly define the requirements that they do expect from data to have a proper work and a smooth workflow with the integration of their work processes, of their business processes itself. And our role as a data governance office then is not to produce the standards, because we consider we don't have the business knowledge, but to produce, to steer these people, to make them aware that there is standards, that there is a data framework around that we can offer, that we support. We guide them through this process definition, through this requirement definition. but then we are sure that we capture the business requirement, and then we make the bridge with IT. So this is really on our side to make sure that we have also communication with IT, and that we're going to IT to say, this is the requirements from the data governance. This is how the content needs to be handled. Now, this is your task as an IT people to provide the supports for having this requirement fulfilled. And then this is a lot of compromise, a lot of discussion on what should be dropped, because you never get 100% requirements fulfilled, but what you would drop, what you would not drop. There is a lot of discussion around that. But yeah, we dedicate everything to our business. This is an ongoing process. This is a lot of working on change management, on cultural, or getting people the data culture, I would say. But this is very valuable because we could capture very good requirement from the business though.
Hi, hello. Well, I'm also implementing data governance in my organization, but here the department was born after they started with data analytics. But use cases were given the result they were expected. So that's why they decided to go to basics, with data governance. So we started just similar as Lauren said. We started to identify who is the person in each domain with the necessary knowledge to start to define business rules, just to how to measure them with the IT department to make it available in the system. So we can measure data quality, for example.
It's not a problem. I will send you and you can share. I really hope the Santander experience could be useful for someone else. Yeah, it could be nice. And my email is in the last
presentation.
slide.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Alicia. Please, Nico,
bye.
make the group dynamics.
Hello again.
Hola, Lucia.
Hola. Well, we have a couple of questions more. Do you think it's really possible to democratize data? What do you think? Because it's very common to find people who think that the data is from their ownership, and sometimes it's very difficult, no, to democratize data. What do you think? Stefano, what do you think?
Oh, wow. Both questions, I think that a technological aspect can answer. It's not a matter of technological problems. I mean, it's possible to democratize from a technical point of view. There are no problems to do it. I think that the problem is how can the people be interested in democratizing? That's a different aspect. If they are really interested in democratization of data and information, because from a technical point of view, I think that any kind of problem can be achieved or solved. I mean, I do not see any problem at all.
Of course, we have to convince people to share their data. Do you think that a contract is a good way to share data in a proper manner, in a compliance manner?
Yeah, I think so. That's a good way. It was a good point raised by the previous speaker. Yeah.
Thank you. One volunteer who wants to answer some of these questions. Jordi.
Totally agree with Stefano. The real question is people willing to democratize this? I totally agree. and I will add, is people really able to consume it? There is, the technology is not an issue to enable democratized data, but maybe it is in order to, many other levels than data people being able really to access and understand it or getting profit less for that. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah. Well, it's a strange question. I mean, in my experience, there is I always found a very strong push from the business in order to consume several type of data, right? And especially if in an organization, I mean, the reality of my organization is still quite low level of maturity, but there is a push of utilizing the data. So on one side, I don't find the resistance of democratizing data. On the other side, I think democratizing data in a way that is sustainable is not an easy thing, right? So it's because it requires a certain level of maturity in the organization in terms of how you are managing the data, how you are exposing the data, so we are talking about here contracts, and before we were talking about data governance, and I think both are coming together, right? So in an organization with a good data governance, I think you can talk about roles and you can talk about contracts. In an organization that is not at that level, then is very naive the use of the data, and then making this journey sustainable in the long term is not an easy thing. It's both the IT part and the business part that needs to realize this. And the other challenge I always saw is possible to democratize data. One of the challenge is making sure that centralization and the democratization are coming together, right? Because generally the organization needs both, right? Yeah. And it's a kind of you need to make sure that the decentralization is not destroying the democratization and vice versa, right? So they are quite antagonists in terms of. So that's my experience, but absolutely agree with Stefano in terms of technology. I think there's plenty of technology that can really help in this, much more now than a few years ago.
Thank you. Very interesting. Jordi, do you want to say something?
It's very related with that, and Miss keyword that Alicia used in the Santander presentation is they were actually able to define a business glossary. The great forgotten one, and probably the most important piece there. Yeah, and that's not a technological one, I can bet on that.
Well, we have both, no? We need that business glossary, but we also have also need that data catalog in which we should have all our assets.
Those are easy. Those are tech pieces.
we need technology, obviously. And what? Well, we have 2 minutes. More, please, more volunteers.
Well, I'm agree with Jonathan. I really agree. And I think that during this centralization activity, companies needs to be careful to not fall into bureaucracy, because if they fall into bureaucracy, it's finished. You can get out.
Correct. And the democratization on the other side is often creating silos in the functions, right? And this is what I see, because then data is democratized, so people can access into the data, but we need to make sure that this is not again going against the decentralization. Otherwise, you will have like different solutions. Right?
Yeah, I think the key factor is a good analysis activity before to start, because if you ask anyone in the game what they really need in terms of data, in terms of information, and you can find a way to satisfy them at their requests. even if sometimes they think that they need some sensitive data. But finally, you can realize that 99% of time is not about sensitive data.
Absolutely. It brings to my mind when you mention silos. Maybe we are just moving the silos from technological piece to another. Maybe it's more a matter about culture within the organization.
Yeah. But I can understand sometimes the analysis effort can be enormous.
Yeah, indeed.
Consuming. So you have to find a way to concentrate or some kinds of data asset, critical data elements, for example, that are very important for the company. Well, they're calling back us to...
Yes, we have to come back. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye-bye.